The genius daughter of a black security guard solved a $100 million problem in seconds. But when she saw the CEO's reaction, she realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Olivia Davies, 19, never imagined that delivering a late-night package to the 20th floor of EtherCorp in Newport, Wales, would turn into the most humiliating moment of her existence. As she waited for her payment at the reception desk, her eyes were fixed on the giant screen where dozens of engineers were frantically discussing a flawed algorithm that was costing the company millions a day. "My God, they're using the completely wrong data structure," she muttered, watching the code projected on the wall. The receptionist, a stern white woman in a tailored suit, rolled her eyes. "Sure, the delivery girl knows advanced programming." What a joke. Olivia ignored the sarcasm, but couldn't take her eyes off the screen. The error was as obvious to her as breathing. A simple reorganization of the quad tree and the implementation of probabilistic counting would solve everything in a matter of seconds. "Excuse me," she said, addressing the group of executives passing through the lobby. "That algorithm there, you're using depth-first search, where you should be using breadth-first search with a priority queue. That's why it's crashing." The silence was deafening. 12 women in elegant power suits stared at the young black woman in a delivery uniform as if she had just spoken in an alien language. Samantha Sterling, the company's CEO, a 50-year-old white woman with impeccably styled blonde hair, laughed a low, cruel laugh. "Kid, do you have any idea how many PhDs in computer science have been working on this project for the last 6 months?" Olivia felt the heat rise in her neck, but she kept her voice steady. "I know you've lost £97 million so far because the system crashes every 200 simultaneous queries." Sterling's laughter died in her throat. That specific number had not been made public. "And how the hell would you know that?" asked the Vice President of Technology, Dr. Anya Sharma, approaching suspiciously. Olivia took a deep breath. Her father, Arthur Davies, had been cleaning these offices for 15 years. During the early mornings while he worked, she did her homework in the empty rooms, unintentionally absorbing technical conversations and documents left on the desks. But revealing that would humiliate her father even more. "Just observation," she replied simply. Sterling crossed her arms, a wicked smile forming on her lips. "All right, little genius. If you're so smart, prove it. Solve our problem." The challenge echoed through the lobby like a sentence. All eyes turned to Olivia, some amused, others clearly expecting an epic humiliation. What none of them knew was that this young package delivery girl had been accepted to Oxford at 16, but had turned down the scholarship to care for her ailing father, a Vietnam veteran with worsening PTSD. Olivia looked at the screen, then at the expectant faces around her. Something flashed in her eyes. Not fear, but a quiet determination that made some of those present realize that they might have seriously underestimated the person standing before them. "All right," she said, pulling a battered smartphone from her pocket. "But when I get this sorted out, I want you all to remember that you judged a book by its cover. If this story of prejudice and overcoming adversity touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to find out how a simple moment of humiliation would become the catalyst for a revolution that no one would ever forget." Dr. Sharma laughed loudly, a sound that echoed through the lobby like breaking glass. "This is going to be better than comedy." Someone calls security to film when she falls flat on her face. Olivia watched as a small crowd gathered around the screen. Employees appeared from every floor, whispering and pointing at the delivery girl who had dared to challenge decades of engineering expertise. 15 minutes, Sterling declared, consulting her diamond-studded watch. "If you can't even improve our performance by 10%, I want you out of here and never to come back, and take your father with you." Olivia's blood ran cold. How did Sterling know about her father? "Oh yes," the CEO continued with a venomous smile. "Arthur Davies, our night security guard for the past 15 years. Hard-working man, but perhaps it's time for mandatory retirement, especially if she finds out she raised a lying daughter." The humiliation burned in Olivia's chest like acid. Her father had sacrificed everything, nights of sleep, his health, his dreams, so that she could study. He had worked 2 jobs after her mother passed, guarding offices until the wee hours of the morning while Olivia did her homework in the dark corners of corporate buildings. "Problem, kid?" Sterling asked, noticing the tension on Olivia's face. "Still want to play programmer?" Olivia took a deep breath, remembering the words her father always repeated. "Daughter, when they try to humiliate you, it's because they're afraid of what you're capable of." "You can start timing me," Olivia said, approaching the terminal. The stern receptionist, Brenda, according to her ID, filmed everything with her cell phone. "This is going to go viral," she whispered to a colleague. "Influencer doing a tech challenge." Olivia ignored the comments and focused on the screen. The system was even more complex than she had imagined. Layers upon layers of poorly optimized code, like a house built without a proper foundation. But her trained eyes, forged by nights studying in public libraries and free tutorials on the internet, identified the pattern immediately. As she typed, she remembered all the times she had been underestimated. At school, where teachers treated her like just another lost case from the valleys. At the Oxford exam, where the interviewer questioned whether she really belonged there in her own decision to turn down the full scholarship when everyone told her she was wasting her only chance to escape poverty. 10 minutes, announced Sterling, clearly expecting to witness an epic failure. Dr. Sharma approached, watching the code Olivia was writing. Her confident expression began to waver. Wait, that can't be right. Olivia had completely restructured the data architecture in less than 8 minutes. Where there had been 300 lines of confusing code, there were now 47 elegant and efficient lines. "What did you do?" asked a young engineer with a neatly braided bun, genuinely curious. "I treated the system like I would treat my father's pension fund," Olivia replied without taking her eyes off the screen. "When you have little, you learn to do a lot. I cut out everything that was superfluous and organized the essentials." Sterling approached, her smile beginning to fade. "That's impossible. Our best minds have been working on this project for 6 months. Maybe the problem wasn't the minds," Olivia said calmly, "but the perspectives. When you've never had to make a single dollar stretch a week, it's hard to understand real efficiency." The tension in the air was palpable. Employees exchanged nervous glances, realizing that something unexpected was happening. 5 minutes, Sterling muttered, but her voice had lost its previous confidence. Olivia finished the last lines of code and stepped away from the terminal. "Done. You can test it." Dr. Sharma hesitated, then started the simulation. The screen flashed, numbers cascaded down, and then total silence. The system had processed 200,000 simultaneous queries in 3 seconds. 0 crashes, 0 errors. That's not possible," someone whispered in the crowd. Olivia looked directly at Sterling. 97% improvement in performance, 90% reduction in processing time. The monthly cost of the servers should be cut in half. The lobby was deathly silent. Brenda had stopped filming, her mouth agape. Even the arrogant receptionist seemed to have swallowed her tongue. Sterling clenched her fists, her face red with anger and humiliation. "That was luck. A trick. You copied that from somewhere. I can do it again from scratch if you want," Olivia offered calmly. "Or explain every line of code to your team. Maybe even give you a few lessons in system optimization." That was when Sterling made her biggest mistake. Completely losing her composure, she shouted for the entire company to hear, "I will not be humiliated by a black package delivery girl. Security, get this vagrant out of here." The silence that followed was deafening. Dozens of cell phones had captured those words. The racial discrimination that Sterling had disguised for years had just exploded in public. Olivia stood motionless, a barely perceptible smile on her lips. She had achieved exactly what she needed to. Not only had she solved the technical problem, but she had exposed the true nature of the woman who ran that company. "Interesting," said Olivia, calmly picking up her backpack. "Because under Welsh labor law, racial discrimination in the workplace is a federal crime. And considering that about 20 people filmed this, each new word that came out of Sterling's mouth only dug deeper into the hole of her own destruction." While Olivia stood there with the serenity of someone who had just turned a moment of humiliation into the first piece of a much more complex game that was only just beginning. Sterling's words still echoed through AetherCorp when Olivia left the building. 20 minutes later, she found her father, Arthur Davies, preparing dinner in the small apartment they had shared for 19 years. He looked at his daughter's face and immediately knew something had happened. "Tell me everything," he said, turning off the stove and sitting down at the scratched formica table. Olivia recounted every detail, from the moment she saw the error in the code to Sterling's racist words being filmed by dozens of people. Arthur listened silently, his eyes filling with tears of pride and concern. "My daughter," he said finally, "do you have any idea what you've just done?" "I've probably made the biggest mistake of my life," Olivia sighed. "I've exposed you, exposed myself, and now—" "Now," Arthur interrupted firmly, "you've shown who you really are. And if this woman thinks she can destroy our family after 15 years of me guarding her mistakes, she doesn't know the Davies family." He stood up and went to the closet, pulling out a dusty shoebox. Inside were letters, documents, and photographs. "Daughter, there are things about AetherCorp you don't know. Things I've seen during all these years of working nights." Olivia looked at the papers with growing surprise. Fraudulent contracts, printed emails about illegal dismissals, photographs of executives using company funds for illicit parties. "Dad, did you collect all this?" "When you're invisible," Arthur smiled sadly, "people talk and do things as if you don't exist. For 15 years, I saw and heard much more than I should have." The next day, Olivia received an unexpected call. "Hello, is this Olivia Davies? My name is Patrick O'Connell. I'm an investigative journalist with Tech Beacon News. I saw the video that went viral yesterday about your interaction with Samantha Sterling." Olivia hesitated. "I'm not sure I want to give interviews." "It's not an interview," Patrick interrupted. "It's a proposal for collaboration. I've been investigating illegal labor practices at AetherCorp for 2 years. I have inside sources who confirm a systematic pattern of discrimination, but I need more solid evidence." They met at a discreet cafe in the city center. Patrick was a middle-aged man with red hair and piercing blue eyes that revealed years of experience exposing corporate corruption. "Olivia, that video was just the tip of the iceberg," Patrick explained, showing her a folder filled with documents. "Sterling has a history of firing black employees for fabricated reasons, paying men less than women for identical jobs, and using questionable accounting schemes to avoid taxes." Olivia flipped through the documents, recognizing some names of former employees her father had mentioned over the years. "What do you need from me?" "Inside access. Your father has worked there for 15 years. You have exceptional technical skills. And now Sterling has made the mistake of publicly underestimating you. She'll try to cover up the video scandal, but if we can get additional evidence, we can destroy her completely," Olivia finished, a determined gleam appearing in her eyes. Meanwhile, at AetherCorp's offices, Sterling had called an emergency meeting with her legal and public relations departments. The video had surpassed 200,000 views in less than 24 hours. "I want that kid and her father out of my sight by the end of the week," she raged. "And I want someone to find a way to invalidate the solution she created. There must be a mistake somewhere." Dr. Sharma, who had remained unusually quiet since the incident, finally spoke up. "Samantha, maybe we should consider offering the girl a position. She clearly has talent, and it could help with our public image." "Are you crazy?" Sterling exploded. "I'm not going to reward some arrogant kid who humiliated me in public. Find a way to get rid of her, or I'll find people who can." What Sterling didn't know was that Dr. Sharma had discreetly recorded the entire conversation on her phone. Years of observing the CEO's questionable practices had finally reached a breaking point when she witnessed genuine talent being rejected out of pure prejudice. That night, Sharma called a number Patrick O'Connell had given Olivia. "I have something you guys will want to hear," she said simply. Over the next few days, Olivia was transformed. During the day, she continued to deliver packages and maintain the appearance of normalcy. But at night, she worked with Patrick, and now Sharma, to methodically document every irregularity at EtherCorp. They uncovered a frightening pattern: overpriced software development contracts for shell companies, black employees being systematically passed over for promotions, and a scheme where Sterling sold insider information about products in development to competitors. "We have enough material to destroy her career and bankrupt the company," Patrick said during one of their nightly meetings at Olivia's apartment. "No," Olivia replied calmly, surprising everyone. "We don't want to destroy the company. There are good people there, honest employees who depend on these jobs. We want something more surgical." Arthur smiled, recognizing the wisdom he had tried to teach his daughter for years. "The best revenge isn't to stoop to their level, daughter. It's rising so high that they feel tiny looking up at you." Olivia nodded, a plan beginning to form in her mind. "Sterling thinks I'm just an ignorant package delivery girl. Let's use that arrogance against her." She turned to Patrick. "You said you have contacts on EtherCorp's board of directors. 3 members who are growing increasingly dissatisfied with Sterling's management. Why?" Olivia smiled, a dangerous gleam in her eyes. "Because we're going to give them an alternative they never saw coming. Sterling wants to humiliate me publicly. Perfect. We'll give her exactly that opportunity." As they planned, none of them noticed a shadowy figure watching the apartment from a window in the building next door. Sterling had hired a private investigator to monitor the Davies family, certain she would find something compromising. What she didn't know was that her own paranoia was about to become the final catalyst for her destruction. Every desperate move she made only provided more evidence for the dossier that was quietly growing against her. Olivia looked at her father, then at Patrick and Sharma. "Are you ready to turn the tables completely?" They all nodded. And at that moment, sitting in the humble kitchen where Arthur had raised a genius, a plan was born that would not only transform their lives, but redefine what true justice meant in the corporate world. The girl Sterling had tried to humiliate was about to become her worst nightmare, and the twist would be as elegant as it was devastating. The EtherCorp conference room had never seen a meeting like this. Sterling had summoned the entire board of directors, the local tech press, and representatives of major investors for what she called a demonstration of leadership and corporate integrity. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sterling declared, adjusting her designer headscarf, "I've brought you here today to witness how we deal with problematic employees and attempts to defame our company." At the entrance to the room, Olivia entered calmly, wearing the same simple sweater as always. Sterling smiled like a predator who had just smelled blood. "Ah, our famous package genius has arrived," Sterling announced to the entire room. "I hope you've recorded this because today you're going to see a lying kid get completely exposed." Olivia sat down in the chair indicated to her, noticing the cameras strategically positioned around the room. Perfect. Just as she had planned. "Miss Davies," Sterling began, walking theatrically around the table, "you claimed that you improved our system by 97%. Our experts have discovered that this was pure luck, an amateur trick." Dr. Sharma, sitting at the back of the room, exchanged a nervous glance with Olivia. The plan was working exactly as planned. "In fact," Sterling continued, "we've discovered that you and your father are involved in a scheme to steal intellectual property from our company. We have evidence that he photographed confidential documents during his nightly security rounds." A shocked murmur rippled through the room. Olivia remained motionless, but her eyes flashed with an intensity that made some of those present shift uncomfortably in their seats. "That's a very serious accusation, Miss Sterling," Olivia said calmly. "I hope you have proof to back that up." "Of course I do," Sterling shouted quickly, losing her composure. "I hired a private investigator who documented everything. Photos of your father in places he shouldn't have been." "The two of you meeting with suspicious people?" Olivia nodded slowly. "Interesting. And this private investigator, did he follow you as well?" Olivia took a tablet out of her pocket and connected it to the room's projection system. "Because while your private detective was following me, Patrick O'Connell from Tech Beacon News was investigating something much more interesting." The first image that appeared on the screen was a photo of Sterling leaving an expensive restaurant with a woman in a suit. The date showed 3 weeks ago. "This is Victoria Anyafor, representative of Omnitech Solutions, EtherCorp's direct competitor," Olivia explained to the increasingly silent room. "You were discussing the sale of proprietary algorithms for £12 million. Sterling's face paled instantly. That's fake. A montage." Olivia clicked again. This time, the screen showed an audio recording. Sterling's unmistakable voice filled the room. "The distributed ledger algorithm is worth at least £20 million on the black market. I can deliver the complete source code by the end of the month." "That's been taken out of context," Sterling shouted, but her voice had lost all authority. "Context." Olivia smiled for the first time. "Let's give some more context then." The next sequence of slides showed forged contracts, emails about racially motivated dismissals, and photographs of executives using illicit substances in the company bathrooms. Exactly the material Arthur had discreetly collected over 15 years. "My God," murmured one of the investors. "Samantha, is this true?" But Olivia wasn't finished yet. The screen now showed the complete recording of the original meeting between her and Sterling, including the racist words that had been cut from some videos leaked online. "And now," said Olivia, her voice growing stronger, "the part that really matters. The last presentation showed the actual financial results of implementing Olivia's algorithm. In 2 weeks, it had saved the company exactly £143 million in operating costs and increased the system's efficiency by 120%. All of that," Olivia said, looking directly at Sterling, "was generated by a solution created by a black package delivery kid using knowledge gained while my father, a dignified man who worked 15 years at this company, cleaned up the mistakes you left behind." The silence in the room was deafening. Sterling was visibly shaking, sweat pouring down her forehead. You planned this. You set me up." "No," Olivia replied calmly, turning off the projector. "You set yourself up. I just documented it." At that moment, Patrick O'Connell entered the room accompanied by 2 federal agents. "Samantha Sterling, you are under arrest for industrial espionage, racial discrimination in the workplace, and tax fraud." As Sterling was handcuffed, she shouted desperately, "This is persecution! You can't do this to me! I built this company!" Olivia stood up, adjusted her simple sweater, and looked at the woman who had tried to destroy her family. "Miss Sterling, the difference between us is simple. You used your position to oppress people. I used my intelligence to protect them." As Sterling was led away, one of the board members approached Olivia. "Miss Davies, we'd like to discuss a proposal with you. We're in need of a new CEO." Olivia smiled, thinking of her father, who at that moment was probably preparing dinner in the small apartment that would soon no longer be necessary. "I'll consider it, but first I need to deliver a package." The room erupted in nervous laughter, but everyone understood that they had witnessed something extraordinary. The girl Sterling had tried to humiliate had become the architect of her own destruction, proving that true justice does not come from blind revenge, but from intelligent patience and the courage to expose the truth when the right moment finally arrives. 6 months later, Olivia Davies walked through the halls of EtherCorp, no longer as a package delivery girl, but as the youngest CEO in the company's history. At 20 years old, she led a team of 200 employees and oversaw contracts worth billions of pounds annually. The irony was lost on no one. The same lobby where she had been humiliated now displayed her picture on the executive wall, just below the corporate slogan she had created herself. "Excellence has no color, only results." "How does it feel to be called Wales' youngest and most innovative CEO?" asked the Forbes reporter during the interview for the magazine's cover story. Olivia smiled, adjusting her tie, which still felt strange after months of wearing one. "Funny, 6 months ago, I was just the black package delivery kid." Apparently, the title changes when you save a company from bankruptcy. EtherCorp's transformation had been spectacular. Under Olivia's leadership, the company had not only recovered the £97 million it had lost, but tripled its market value. Her revolutionary algorithm was being licensed to companies around the world. Arthur Davies, now retired with a generous pension that Olivia had insisted on establishing for all of the company's security and cleaning staff, watched proudly from the front row during his daughter's Executive of the Year award ceremony. "I never doubted it," he whispered to his friends. "I always knew that girl would fly high. I just didn't know she would fly so high that even I couldn't reach her." Meanwhile, Samantha Sterling had become a complete pariah in the corporate world. After leaving federal prison, where she spent 4 months for industrial espionage and racial discrimination, no technology company would hire her. Her former executive colleagues crossed the street to avoid greeting her. Her golf club canceled her membership. Her ex-wife had filed for divorce and taken half of her remaining assets, and she now lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in the suburbs, working as a freelance consultant for small businesses that didn't know about her scandalous past. The fall had been as brutal as it was public. Videos of her arrest still circulated on social media, always accompanied by comments about karma and poetic justice. Dr. Sharma, who had become vice president of Aether Corp, often commented at executive meetings, "I've never seen such a complete turnaround." Olivia turned humiliation into inspiration, and Sterling turned privilege into prison. During a conference on diversity in the corporate environment, Olivia was asked how she had managed to forgive those who had tried to destroy her. "Forgive?" Olivia chuckled. "I didn't forgive her. I just used the energy she gave me more intelligently. Sterling taught me that the best revenge isn't to bring your enemy down to your level, but to rise so high that he becomes irrelevant." Brenda, the former arrogant receptionist who had mocked her, now worked at a small accounting firm after being fired for inappropriate customer service. Whenever she saw Olivia in the news, she felt a twinge of regret, remembering how she had completely underestimated her. The conference room where it all began was renovated and transformed into the Olivia Davies Innovation Center, a space dedicated to encouraging employees from all backgrounds to share ideas without fear of judgment. On the wall, a gold plaque bears the phrase Olivia repeated during her first speech as CEO. "Genius ignored today is the revolution of tomorrow." Olivia maintained a simple routine. Every Friday night, she still volunteered to deliver packages to shelters in the city. "To remember where I came from," she explained, "and so that other young people can see that it doesn't matter where you are today, it matters where you are going." Patrick O'Connell, the journalist who had helped expose the corruption, wrote a book about the case that became a bestseller. The title, "From Delivery Girl to CEO: How Truth Broke Down an Empire of Lies." 2 years after her initial humiliation, Olivia received an invitation to speak at Oxford University, the same university she had turned down to take care of her father. At the end of the presentation, a student raised her hand. "If you could go back in time, would you change anything?" Olivia thought for a moment, looking at the auditorium filled with inspired young people. "I would change only one thing. I would have delivered that package 5 minutes earlier. So I would have had more time to see Sterling's shocked face when she realized she had underestimated the wrong kid." The audience exploded in laughter and applause. Samantha Sterling tried to destroy a talented young black woman, but ended up unwittingly building the legend of Olivia Davies. The former CEO learned the hard way that true revenge is not getting even for humiliation. It's achieving such resounding success that your oppressors spend the rest of their lives wondering how they could have been so blind. If this story of overcoming adversity touched you, subscribe to the channel to discover more real stories of people who turned injustice into fuel for extraordinary success.